My husband and his friends thought it'd be funny to strand me in a remote Italian town during our vacation. She'll never find her way back, they mocked viciously, tires screeching as they abandoned me. This will teach her a lesson, my husband sneered to his buddies. I silently plotted my revenge. 4 weeks later, he burst into my luxurious Greek villa, his face drained of color, when he discovered I'd secretly transferred everything we owned. The tires screeched against gravel as the car sped away, dust billowing around me in the scorching Italian afternoon. My husband Mark's laughter mingled with his friends as they abandoned me in a village whose name I couldn't even pronounce. She'll never find her way back, Mark mocked viciously, his voice carrying on the wind. This will teach her a lesson, he sneered to his buddies, their faces twisted with cruel amusement as they watched me through the rear window. Though I could have sworn James, the newest addition to their group, hesitated before joining their laughter. I stood frozen in the town square, the reality crashing over me like ice water. No phone, no wallet, no passport, nothing but the clothes I wore and my small day bag. The medieval buildings of the remote village suddenly felt like prison walls closing in. Locals stared at the American woman standing alone, confusion etched on their faces. That's when something inside me hardened. The panic gave way to a cold, clear fury. They thought they'd broken me, left me desperate and begging. They had no idea who they were dealing with. In that moment, I decided they wouldn't just pay, they would lose everything. Mark and I had been married for 8 years. We met in graduate school. He was charming, ambitious, and seemed to adore me. The first years were everything I dreamed of. We built a life together, bought a house, and started planning for children. I gave up my promising career in finance to support his business ventures, managing our home and social life while he climbed the corporate ladder. Everything changed when he reconnected with his wealthy college friends 3 years ago. James, Tyler, and Connor, trust fund kids who never grew up. Suddenly, Mark was obsessed with impressing them, spending beyond our means, adopting their entitled attitudes. I'd noticed how quickly they'd dropped another friend from their circle when his family business collapsed last year. One day he was brother for life. The next, he was never mentioned again. Our annual European vacation, once our special tradition, became a boys' trip, where I was the unwelcome addition. This year's trip to Italy had been tense from the start. Mark criticized everything I did, my outfit choices, my accent when attempting Italian, even how I ate my pasta. His friends snickered at every cutting remark. That morning, I'd finally snapped during breakfast at our hotel in Florence. "I'm tired of being your punching bag," I'd said quietly. "Either they go home early, or I do." Mark's face had darkened. "You're embarrassing me," he hissed. "Just once, can you not be so damn sensitive?" His friends suggested a drive to see a special village. I should have recognized the glances they exchanged, but I was desperate to salvage something of our marriage. Now I stood abandoned in that special village, the full extent of their cruelty becoming clear. The first hours were a blur of panic. I approached locals with my broken Italian, trying to explain my situation. Most regarded me with suspicion. My story sounded absurd even to my own ears. Who would believe a husband would abandon his wife in a foreign country? At the small police station, the officer shrugged sympathetically but couldn't offer much help without my identification. "Problemi matrimoniali," he said, "marital problems," as if this were a common lover's quarrel. By evening, I found a small hotel where the owner, Maria, reluctantly let me stay despite my lack of ID or payment method. The room was sparse but clean. As I emptied my day bag in desperation, I discovered my emergency credit card hidden in a side pocket, the one Mark didn't know about. A small victory. That night, I cycled through every emotion imaginable. Shock gave way to tears, then rage, then a strange, eerie calm. I stared at the ceiling, replaying years of subtle manipulation. How Mark had gradually convinced me to merge our finances. How he'd suggested I leave my job because we had enough. How he'd isolated me from friends who didn't understand our lifestyle. At dawn, a realization hit me like lightning. I still had my banking app on my phone. Mark hadn't changed the passwords. Why would he? In his mind, I was too dependent, too obedient to ever challenge him. My hands trembled as I opened the app. What if he'd already thought of this? What if he'd locked me out? The loading screen seemed to last forever. My breath caught in my throat. One failed attempt, and he might be alerted. This was my only chance. The account page loaded. I gasped, covering my mouth to stifle the sound. There they were, our substantial joint accounts, investment portfolios, and even his business accounts. All accessible. The numbers blurred through my tears. Hundreds of thousands of dollars at my fingertips. Money that was legally half mine. Instead of calling Mark in panic as he expected, I chose silence. Let him wonder, let him worry. Or more likely, let him boast to his friends about teaching his wife a lesson. With each passing hour, memories resurfaced with new clarity. The time Mark forgot to add my name to an invitation for a work event, then accused me of overreacting. The subtle comments undermining my intelligence whenever I voiced an opinion about investments. The way he'd check my purchases, but spend thousands on golf weekends with his friends without discussion. I remembered signing papers years ago, power of attorney, joint investment accounts, even being added as an officer to his business for tax purposes. He'd explained it all so reasonably while I signed without questioning. Those signatures now represented my escape route. Maria, the hotel owner, brought me espresso the second morning. Using a translation app, I managed to share pieces of my story. Her face softened with recognition. Mio marito, similar, she said, making a walking motion with her fingers. Her husband had also left, though under different circumstances. With Maria's help, I used the hotel computer to email my sister Kate, the sister Mark had deemed too negative for our lives. We hadn't spoken in nearly 2 years. I need help, I wrote simply. Mark abandoned me in Italy. No passport, limited funds. Her response came within hours. I knew he was bad news, but this is beyond what even I imagined. Tell me what you need, I'm here. The relief of that simple validation broke something open inside me. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't overreacting. With Kate's support and Maria's kindness, I began formulating a plan. Over the next 3 days, I moved methodically. First, small transfers from our joint accounts to a new one Kate helped me set up remotely, amounts that wouldn't trigger alerts. Then, using my emergency card, I booked a flight to Greece, a country I'd always wanted to explore, but Mark had dismissed as too pedestrian for his tastes. Maria connected me with her cousin at the local police station who helped arrange temporary travel documents. Kate wired emergency funds and contacted a divorce attorney back home. All while Mark's increasingly frantic texts went unanswered. Babe, just checking you got back to the hotel okay? Hey, call me when you get this. This isn't funny anymore. Where are you? I'm getting worried. Please respond. His friends' messages evolved from mocking to concerned as days passed. Mark's freaking out. Just let him know you're alive? Seriously, this has gone far enough. I noticed James's messages were different, more genuinely concerned, less demanding. I'm sorry about what happened. It wasn't right. Please just let someone know you're safe. I posted a single social media update, a sunset photo with no location tag, and the caption, "Finding myself." Let them wonder. By day 5, I was on a flight to Santorini. Using our joint investment funds, I rented a stunning villa overlooking the Aegean Sea. The irony wasn't lost on me. Mark had always controlled our vacation destinations, and now I was living in paradise using his money. If you've ever been underestimated by someone who should have known better, you know the quiet power that comes with proving them wrong. Subscribe for more stories of unexpected comebacks that will leave you cheering. Sitting on my villa terrace, watching the famous Santorini sunset, I finally had space to examine the ruins of my marriage. Mark hadn't always been cruel. His transformation had been gradual, a slow erosion of my independence, so subtle I hadn't recognized it. The financial control had been disguised as taking care of things so I wouldn't have to worry. I discovered a strength I'd forgotten I possessed. My finance degree and years managing our household gave me skills Mark had dismissed. Each day, I transferred more assets, documented our financial history, and built my case with the lawyer Kate had hired. Reports from home filtered through Kate. Mark was unraveling. Without access to our main accounts, his lavish spending had quickly caught up with him. His friends, those same laughing faces in the car, had disappeared when he could no longer fund their adventures. Tyler had apparently blocked his calls after Mark asked to borrow money. Connor pretended not to know him at their usual golf club. the fair-weather friends I'd predicted they would be. His business partners were asking difficult questions about missing funds. 2 weeks into my Greek rebirth, Kate arrived with a suitcase of my belongings and crucial documents she'd retrieved from our home. Seeing her walk into my villa, I broke down in tears, the first I'd shed since that initial night in Italy. "You've lost weight," she said, hugging me tightly, "but you've got your spark back in your eyes." Together, we finalized the divorce strategy. The lawyer confirmed what I'd suspected. Mark's financial maneuvers over the years, while designed to control me, had legally entitled me to far more than he realized. I began exploring business opportunities in Greece, using my financial background to consult for local tourism companies looking to attract American clients. For the first time in years, my opinions were valued, my expertise recognized. Exactly 4 weeks after being abandoned in Italy, I heard a commotion at my villa gate. Through the security camera, I saw Mark, unshaven, disheveled, a shadow of his former polished self. My heart hammered against my ribs. This was the moment I'd been preparing for, yet the sight of him still triggered a complex storm of emotions. I took a deep breath, straightened my shoulders, and opened the door. "What the?" he sputtered, waving his phone showing the empty accounts. "What have you done?" I leaned against the doorframe, calm and collected in a way that visibly unnerved him. "I found my way back," I said simply, "just not to you." His face contorted with rage, then disbelief as he took in the stunning villa behind me. "You can't." "This is," he stammered, struggling to form coherent thoughts. "That's our money. My money." "Actually," I replied, "I think you'll find it's legally our money, and since you decided our marriage was over when you abandoned me in a foreign country, I'm simply dividing the assets." "It was a joke," he shouted, voice cracking with desperation. "We were coming back for you the next day. You weren't answering your phone." "A joke?" I repeated, my voice dangerously quiet. "Leaving your wife without money, ID, or transportation in a country where she doesn't speak the language is a joke to you?" His strategy shifted instantly, his face softening into the charming expression I'd once loved. "Baby, I'm sorry. Things got out of hand. The guys and I had been drinking. I've been going crazy looking for you." "Where are your friends now, Mark?" I asked. He flinched, eyes darting away. They don't understand what I'm going through." I handed him an envelope. "Divorce papers. My lawyer will contact yours." The color drained from his face as he flipped through the documents detailing the financial divisions, the evidence of abandonment, the witness statements from the Italian village. "You can't do this to me," he whispered, his voice breaking. "Everything I built, please, I'll lose everything." "Everything we built," I corrected. "And you threw it away for a laugh with your friends." He sank to his knees on my doorstep, the reality of his situation finally hitting him. His friends gone, his accounts emptied, his reputation in tatters. "What am I supposed to do now?" he asked, looking genuinely lost. For a moment, I felt a flicker of the love we once shared, then I remembered his laughter as the car drove away. "You'll figure it out," I said, closing the door. 6 months later, my consulting business was thriving. I'd made real friends in my coastal community. People who knew my story and admired my resilience rather than my husband's bank account. The divorce was finalized, with terms heavily in my favor, given the circumstances of abandonment. I heard through Kate that Mark had moved in with his parents. His business collapsed under investigation for financial irregularities. His friends had completely vanished from his life. Sometimes I felt a twinge of guilt, quickly replaced by the memory of standing alone in that Italian square. Last week, I was shopping in the local market when I noticed a young American woman arguing desperately with a vendor, her face tear-streaked. Her boyfriend had left with their shared hotel room key, their passports, and their money after a fight. The vendor didn't believe her story. I stepped forward, introduced myself in my now decent Greek, and offered assistance. The relief in her eyes mirrored what I must have felt when Maria offered me coffee that first morning. As I helped her contact her embassy, I received an unexpected email from James, one of Mark's friends who had been in the car that day. "I've been trying to find a way to contact you for months," he wrote. "What we did was unforgivable. I've lost sleep thinking about how terrified you must have been. Mark swore we'd return in the morning, but I should have known better. I should have stopped it. I'm not asking for forgiveness, just wanting you to know that not a day passes when I don't regret my part in it. I stared at the message for a long time, the young woman beside me making arrangements for her journey home. I never replied to James. Some bridges once burned should remain ashes. But I did book the young woman a flight home and gave her my business card. When you're ready, I told her, Greece is a wonderful place for new beginnings. Standing on my terrace that evening, watching another breathtaking sunset, I realized the greatest revenge wasn't taking Mark's money or even building my new life. It was discovering that I had always been stronger than he ever knew, than I ever knew myself. The woman who stood trembling in that Italian square died that day. In her place stands someone who knows her worth, who will never again be made small by someone else's cruelty. As the Mediterranean breeze carries the scent of jasmine through my villa, I raise my glass to her, to me, and to whatever adventures come next.